We all know about the orphans, and I am going to do another video on this because I've got something sort of more I want to get into. But we're just going to get into the orphans, right? Because chances are we're all the offspring. We're all the God, I can't even think. What's the word? They're our ancestors. We're their decestors, is that right? And what do you call it when you're in a lift and you're going down? Always wondered that. But anyway, yeah. Did we all come from the orphans? Because when we look at this story, that's what it looks like. And my story is that I come from convicts. I'm a seventh generation from a convict, right? Which was some guy from England who got put on a boat for stealing a sheep and a couple of goats, and sent over here. And so that's my story. And I don't. There is a family tree I've got to find and have a look at, but I don't know my great grandparents. I didn't know my grandparents, but that's because they kind of all died when I was young. But no one knows their great parents or their great grandparents, and hardly anyone knows the story of great grandparents, let alone their great great or their great great great, right? So we don't really know what was going on in the 1900s, late 1800s. All these stories we have, and we have all these family trees and things that look like they go back further, but do they? We don't really know. So it's a good possibility that we are all descended from orphans. It's awful from these. Okay, so this was going on, and what we see is the orphans start sort of popping in around the 80s, maybe the 1870s, but definitely by the 1880s. We've got these orphans everywhere, and they're sort of suddenly all across the realm. They're in the Americas, they're in Europe, they're on boats on their way to Australia, apparently. But even in Australia, we had the orphans. We had orphans shipped out. Then and this is the other thing. They were then shipped around the realm on boats, and then they were trained around countries, and it was a real mixing of populations. It's like they were literally getting like they're doing at the moment. And they're getting one population and they're moving it to somewhere else. And then that population that was there, they're moving somewhere, and they're just playing this big jigsaw thing. So that when the reset happens, no one's got a history. No one knows how to live off the land that they're in, because they're all in different places where they shouldn't be. You can see here, History of the New York Juvenile Asylum and its Orphan Trains, Volume 4. So there's lots of them, 1880 to 1887. And yeah, so this was going on. And of course, we have the World's Fairs and the incubators, which come in as well. And then we get all these weird pictures of adults with babies who don't look like they know what a baby is. So I got this presentation together quickly. So that's a bit deeper than I was meant to go. So we don't have pictures of those, but we've got pictures of orphans. And this is another thing we see. I mean, you can see, this might be the overseer. But these kids just look like, they're probably 16, 15. And these obviously younger, in the mud, of course, right? Working at this crappy factory. And this is how they kickstarted our era, right? Our modern world with the kids. They threw them all into factories. But all these pictures you see of them, you can see that, this one's a bit different because they're happy they're being let out. Yay, they're making a break for it. Look at the swings here, man. Look at this kid up here. And there's another one. See, this would be so illegal today, right? But this is what they used to have. They just climb up and jump around, and if they fell off, they'd just get up and go again, I guess. I went to the beach today, and I went to Hillary's, and they've got like this water park, all these inflatable things for the kids, like slides and all these bits, heaps of them. And so the kids go in there and, run around. they all have to wear life jackets. I mean, this is Australia. When I was growing up, it was pretty much mandatory. I mean, you had to know how to swim. I mean, it's Australia. Now they're putting life jackets on kids. So it's the dumbing down. Here's some more in the. Is this? Oh no, that's probably cotton or something, or from the factory. But they're always very. They look very sort of matey with each other, especially the guys. These are obviously. This is waiting for the train, I think. All dressed up, waiting for the orphan train. Don't know who the parents are. Getting shipped around to God knows where. Kids looking after kids, kids raising kids, you know, all clothes. None of their clothes fit, which is interesting. I mean, look at this guy's jacket. I mean, they're pretty raggy too. But all the adults look so well dressed, don't they? See, look at this guy. He's just in rags. And this, you know, what's he picking? All right, that's cotton. And we all know the story about cotton. So is that something, you know, is that another lie? Was it actually kids out there? Because, I mean, look at this is literally their workforce. I mean, these at the moment are more the orphans. So there are some younger ones in here. Or got that one twice. These are orphans from my brain's gone. Dutch. What's Dutch land? The Netherlands. That's it. And again, you know, the clothes don't really seem to fit them that well, do they? They look a little bit big. And I was thinking, oh, here we go. We've got a controller. It's Abraham Lincoln. You know, and you see this so often, right? One controller, one adult, and all these kids, and a bit of antiquity. And again, yeah, they just look. These kids look so tough, don't they? But also, like they're a family, like they're their own family. Like they're always, you know, looking like they're standing together and like. So clearly, you know, they got no families, right? This is their family. Like this is them. And I mean, look at this building. Look how old this building looks. Right, it clearly looks like an old found building and they've turned into a factory. More, and some of these photos are actually in the factories where these kids were working. And soon we'll get to see a lot of them were smoking, had pipes and stuff. Is that a gun? Yeah, these two got a gun. And these two got a baseball bat. And they're like, come for us. Oh, here you go, a couple of pipes. So these are the older kids. Man, look at that. What's going on with his ears? But as you can see, you know, that's probably only a 16-year-old kid. You know, maybe 17, 18-year-olds at the back there. And so they're all just kids. Free labor sent around to do the work in the factories, to do the work in the farms. This is an orphanage. And of course, you know, who ran all the orphanages? And then what came out, you know, in the sort of 80s, 90s is the story of what was going on in these orphanages run by these people who, you know, are supposed to be holier than thou. And they turn out to be the worst people ever to be in any kind of position of power, especially over children. And of course, you know, this story is still continuing, right? This story is about shipping children around the realm and using them as labor. And a part of this was there were auctions where you could literally buy, well, here we go, an orphan, right? Homes wanted for children, a company of orphan children at the Opera House after, it's a bit, can't read that, after hours, Thursday, April 5th, 1906. Now, can't read that. Sorry, it's actually a really small clip that I found. But that is, well, I don't know exactly, but I'm pretty sure that's advertising an orphan auction. Come and buy a child. And they could literally put in, you know, say I want, you know, a 5-year-old male with blonde hair buys. Like they put an order in, like they could get the kind of kid they wanted, which is a bit more nefarious, right? I mean, here, look at these poor little girls. Don't look very warm, do they? Don't look very happy. You know, none of their clothes fit. Just walking around in the mud. And where are their parents? Where did all these kids come from? Again, this guy, he's like 11 or 12 and he's smoking a pipe. But again, right, they're like a gang, right? And I mean, is this where gangs started? You know, I mean, because gangs is another thing, right? Like a gang is a group of people who either don't have or don't want, you know, their family, and so they go and make their own. You know, the orphans did it through necessity, right? Oh, this was what I was going to say before these suspenders. You know, were they invented because all these kids' pants didn't fit them? They were all too big. All right, so you just give them some suspenders and they'll hold them up. This guy keeps looking like he's missing a leg, but he's not. I mean, more. So we're talking little kids here, right? This is like a 2-3-year-old here, all orphans, just working in someone's garden. So free labor, basically, free labor for the work for the realm. We saw that before. Kids raising kids. This is a shot of. It says that it's basically where they slept, right? Where the workers, not the orphanages, but the workers are factory orphans, and this is just straw, right? Just straw beds in a shed somewhere. I wonder they're a bit dirty. I've seen that one. More orphans. Just, you know. Kids, man, this realm was built on the backs of children. Right, so this is obviously all done by the people who took control of this era. So it shows you what they think of us, right, and our children and our kind. Like literally, right? We're just slaves. And we were. Well, that's the same photo. But there you go. I mean, look at this. Look at this guy. He's got his work clothes on, and that's how they restarted the realm.
Remember, in the end, nobody wins unless everybody wins.